As a rule, you do want to keep your ISO as low as possible as well, just like the aperture. There are situations in which you want to bump it up a little bit when you're in low light conditions, but this can cause your footage to look grainy if you do not handle it well. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jesse. I am a full-time filmmaker. This channel is to help young filmmakers find and follow their passion of film. I'm going to be doing a giveaway of a DJI Ronin SC at 1,000 subscribers. I absolutely love this thing. I use it all the time. Stick around to the end of the video to figure out how to enter into the giveaway. We're going to be going through these 7 steps. The first step is that you need to, and listen very carefully, you need to take your camera, you need to run over to a safe spot, grab some popcorn, and
shove it up your butt.
Okay, but seriously guys, you need to take your camera, open up the menu. On my Canon 90D, I open up the menu and I go to frame rate, which should be in the first panel of the settings. Go to frame rate, you're going to change that to 24 FPS or 23.98, 23.97, 23.96. As long as it's near 24 frames per second, you're good. This is the most cinematic looking frame rate. If you go up to 60 frames per second, then it looks a little bit too quick, and if you go up to 120 frames per second, then that also looks way too jarring. Next, we got shutter speed. You always want to make sure that your shutter speed is twice your frame rate. So if your frame rate is 24 frames per second, then you're going to want to choose the closest option to 1/50th. So if you have 1/50, I would use that. If you have 1/60, it's close enough, I would use that one. Or if you're shooting in 120 frames per second, because it does come in handy for slow-mo scenarios, then obviously you want to go up to 1/240th. Next, you want the aperture to be as low as possible. So when the aperture is low, and you can get to lower apertures by the types of lenses that you buy. So the one that I use most frequently is the Canon 50mm lens that allows me to get down to a 1.8 aperture. Once it's at a 1.8 aperture, I can really get those portrait looking shots where you have the subject in absolute clarity but the background is really blurry. As a rule, you do want to keep your ISO as low as possible as well, just like the aperture. There are situations in which you want to bump it up a little bit when you're in low light conditions, but this can cause your footage to look grainy if you do not handle it well, especially if you go all the way up to 12,800 ISO, then it can look really grainy. But it can be useful in situations where you're indoors and you really want that cinematic look that doesn't look too dark, and especially when you're shooting if you want to shoot cinematic, you're not always using the overhead light. So you're using, like I'm using now, a reflector and a softbox light, and it isn't always super bright. So you might want to bump up the ISO a little bit, but try not to go too far above 100. If you're shooting outside, you're going to want to think about using ND filters or neutral density filters. So what happens sometimes when you're shooting outside directly into the sun, your lens could get clouded by the sun and it can be overexposed and just blow out the footage. So how you can avoid this is either by putting your hand in front of the sun as you're shooting, just like how you put sunglasses on or you put a hat on. You're trying to shield your eyes from too much sun exposure, and you're trying to do the same thing with an ND filter. So you can put it right over the lens. There are variable ones, and those are most effective too, because if you don't get a variable one, then you're going to have to really change your ISO. And if you change your ISO too much, as I said before, then it can cause your footage to look grainy. Lighting, lighting, lighting. So no matter how good your DSLR is, if your lighting is not good, it's not going to look cinematic. So the basic thing you want to do with lighting, I have a whole video about this that you can watch as well, but you want to use ambient light as your primary source of light, and then you want to complement that ambient light. So if you have a window light coming in, you want to perhaps use your filter, perhaps use your reflector to wrap the light around the subject, and that'll help it to look as natural as possible, and that'll help you deviate from your light looking too sourcey. So that's one of the things as well. So if I had my softbox light right on my face, then it would look really sourcey. You could tell where it's coming from. Whereas if it's over here, it's being bounced off the wall. It doesn't look super harsh and super sourcey. It doesn't look like it's coming from a film light source. It looks a little bit more natural. Last thing, if you really want to elevate your DSLR game, I would seriously recommend you getting a gimbal. I use the DJI Ronin SC, and we're actually doing a giveaway for that, as I'll talk about in just a second. But the Ronin SC can really help you because it makes that really cinematic, smooth movement. You can use it for push-in shots, you can use it for sports if you're following somebody on a basketball court. There's just so many things you can do with it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Really love each and every one of you. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're into weekly filmmaking content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You'll be part of the family, and we're moving closely towards our next goal of 1,000 subscribers. We just hit 100 subscribers, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much. And if you have a question, this video was inspired by Mr. John Montero and Jeremiah Collum on Instagram. I ask a bunch of questions over there. I do a lot of extra posts there as well. But also, if you just want to drop a comment down below about a question you have about filmmaking, I would love to answer it in a video. Going to be giving away a DJI Ronin at 1,000 subscribers. Just make sure you're subscribed, leave a like and comment on this video because the pick will be at random.